Welcome to Selectory, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the 10 best new horror movies for Halloween 2021. The leaves are falling and the air is getting a little colder again. It's October and Halloween is looming in the near future. And what better way to get into that spooky atmosphere with a new horror movie? There are so many options to choose from, whether you're looking for something funny and scary for friends, or something more serious and spooky for a solo night. As far as horror goes, there have been some pretty great movies in 2021. Number 10, Halloween Kills. The next Halloween film picks up immediately after the end of the 2018 sequel. The story opens by introducing a few new faces, familiar names for Carpenter fans but newcomers to the Green brand. One of the most prominent survivors is Tommy Doyle, who Laurie was babysitting on that fateful night in 1978. He gets together each year with fellow survivors from the same horrific night, including Lindsay Wallace, Marion Chambers, and Lonnie Elam. They're gathering on Halloween to celebrate surviving 4 decades after the event, but they're not safe. For anyone who has seen a horror movie, this is just another setup. Halloween Kills follows the classic sequel formula of Again but more of it. There are plenty of kills, characters, references, and general chaos to satisfy horror movie fans. This was a pretty effective Halloween film. We felt scared, but in a good way. We enjoyed the suspense and the gore and all the stupid decisions. All of these moments coming together created a great horror movie. Number 9, Gaia. If you're interested in Greek mythology, you might know Gaia, the primordial deity who embodies earth and life. This sounds nice, doesn't it? She is Mother Nature, she creates life and nourishment. The thing is, she can take it away just as easily. In this South African ecological horror, the forest is not the friendly and peaceful place we all think it is. Instead, it is filled with dangerous plants and animals that will do anything to keep you away. The 2 forestry service workers find themselves in peril and lost in the woods, and there is very little they can do to escape this lush green hell. If you thought you'd seen everything with clickers in The Last of Us, then let's raise the stakes with this film. You can enjoy some mushroom-embossed people in all their live-action glory. Beautiful, atmospheric, full of folklore, it's easy to see why Gaia has been raking in the rave reviews. If you haven't experienced Gaia yet, you should. It's a great movie that's perfect for the dark, eerie days of fall. Number 8, Malignant. If you don't want the movie spoiled, then watch it as soon as possible. There's really not much time before someone reveals the movie for you. The best way to see the movie is to go into it completely blind, knowing nothing more than the basic premise. Protagonist Madison finds herself witnessing murders live as they happen. The connection that she has to these killings is something that she experienced in her childhood or someone that she knew. However, she does not know how or why. Directed by James Wan, who has made many successful horror movies, this film is the most bonkers mainstream horror in recent memory. It is distinguished by its crazy high concept, its homage to classic horror movies, and its refreshing contribution to the genre. One simple Google search will show you how controversial the movie is. However, the best movies are always controversial. If you like it, you'll love it. If you hate it, you'll still be entertained. But there's one thing that will be for certain, you won't be able to guess how it ends. Number 7, Lamb. There are 2 types of reaction to the little lamb-human hybrid that this film centers around. Some see her as a strange, cute creature that they would quite like to hug, while others see her as a ghastly abomination that needs to be destroyed. We will not be revealing which response is correct. Lamb is a horror film that's uncommonly critically acclaimed. It follows a small family in Iceland whose child is a lamb girl. The family is constantly tense, but the atmosphere is still there. In the fall, this is the type of horror to watch if you want to feel really scared and have a fun time. Director Valdemar Johansson's inspiration for this film is drawn from many sources. Folklore, art, and Icelandic poet Sion are all influential in his work. The movie touches on love, loss, parenthood, and nature, all in the context of an eerie horror movie. If you're in the mood for something different this Halloween, then be sure to check out this movie. It looks great and is one of the more unique films out there. Number 6, Censor. Censor takes place in the 1980s, when video nasties were at their peak. The protagonist, Enid, works for the British Board of Film Classification and is known for being very strict on what gets through her filters. She is a troubled woman who lost her sister when they were young. She's convinced that her sister is still alive, and starts spiraling when she sees an actress in one of the films she's censoring, whose resemblance to her missing little sister is uncanny. What if the character who lives for horror movies ends up in a more ghastly situation than any of the movies she's ever watched? Even the most hardcore horror movie lovers know that this would be a pretty terrible situation. People are praising the great performances and stylistic choices of the film, which have drawn inspiration from neo-giallo. Today's horror directors are using it in their work, and this dark and twisted story is just one more example of that. Number 5, The Medium. One of Shudder's recent additions, this horror flick follows a Thai shaman named Nim, the latest in a long line of women to host a benevolent spirit. When her niece starts behaving strangely, she believes it is because the spirit needs a new host, and is about to move on to the next generation, but soon they realize the spirit is not as benevolent as they had thought. Tricked out as a mockumentary, this small-town spiritual film has a different vibe than those generic horror films. The pace starts off slow and builds up to what we finally realize is an inevitable explosion. This gives you time to enjoy the creepy possessed girl shtick and the full-blown demonic horror too. Thai horrors are always worth a try. They have a unique approach to the genre where they'll include supernatural elements in a story, and will often have a focus on the Asian culture. Even if this isn't your first horror movie, it's worth giving Thai a chance to expand horizons. Number 4, Antlers. We couldn't be more excited to finally watch this title this Halloween. Ever since the trailer last year, we've been intrigued by this film. It has been on our radar ever since we saw Jesse Plemons in his little sheriff outfit in the trailer, and then Guillermo del Toro's name popped up. We'll be honest with you, we were sold right then and there. Mauled dead bodies start turning up around town, and it turns out that the cause of death may not be from an animal. Meanwhile, a local teacher becomes worried about her student, Lucas, who draws disturbing images in class and appears to have no one taking care of him at home. Body horror, demonic entities, and creepy kids are just some of the things this film has in store for you. As the teacher and the local police try to solve the mysteries at hand, they are introduced to a world of folklore and the supernatural that they never knew existed. The question is, will they survive to tell the story? Number 3, Candyman. Sometimes sequels and remakes don't live up to the original. But this one is good. The scares are solid, there's some gore, and Yahya Abdul-Mateen too in the leading role. You know there are some great performances. It's a sequel to the 1992 horror film, following on from the events almost 30 years after they happened. The movie features a whole new cast and characters, this time following an artist named Anthony, who gets sucked into the Candyman sphere through his art. It's no secret that being a black man in America is tough. Nia DaCosta utilizes this point in her narrative, and weaves it with the supernatural horror of the mythical Candyman. The movie isn't perfect, but it's still worth your time. Common narratives and messages, but with new scares and outcomes. There are mixed reviews about the film, with some people finding it unsatisfying. However, Candyman is still worth at least one watch for horror fans. Number 2, The Night House. This may have been a title you heard about a few years ago. And while it did get its premiere in early 2020, some would argue that it's not new enough to be on this list. However, it wasn't released in theaters until 2021. Beth is a widow who has recently lost her husband to suicide. This is a tragic event that leaves her with many questions. One day, she finds pictures of him with various women and worries that he has been cheating on her. To her surprise, she is about to uncover something much worse. It's an interesting take on the age-old haunted house gimmick. Horror has never been more mainstream, with subgenres that seem to be merging into one another. This movie is able to deliver the punch of nostalgia, while at the same time providing a new experience. David Bruckner, who directed this film, also produced a new horror for Netflix, titled No One Gets Out Alive, which is also worth a look. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Number 1, The Beta Test. For all your horror comedy needs this season, it's The Beta Test. From the creators of The Wolf of Snow Hollow, it will leave you laughing and terrified. A Hollywood professional received a letter and was invited to a one-off, no-strings-attached sexual encounter. He reluctantly decides to take the offer and starts to regret it. With the letter as an excuse, he starts to suspect those around him and wishes he never took the bait. However, as every action has consequences, none of us are exempt from those. The movie with Jim Cummings in the starring role is a non-stop roller coaster from start to finish. With a unique premise, the film takes some unexpected twists and turns that are sure to delight the audience. The dialogue is fast-paced and witty, supported by excellent comedic timing. As the film progresses, it becomes even more interesting. There are great performances, and if you're looking for something lighter in tone but just as much substance, you'll be satisfied with this movie. Be sure to check out this video here on Selectory, and don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.